What's up, astronauts? I'm currently at a state park in Washington. Been here for a few days, having a really great time. Lars has been able to explore and run and jump. Today's a little bit different because there's actually no one else here. I'm the only person at this campsite. So all the campsites around me are empty and it's just me here. So of course it feels like a little eerie, a little ominous, but it's September, so spooky time is upon us. So I'm really enjoying it. Today was rainy and it's just super quiet. I'm getting major fall vibes. And I just been thinking about all that's happened in this short year of me traveling on the road. All the great friends that I've made, all the great experiences. And then I started thinking about one experience that actually happened a few weeks ago in Northern California that I wasn't sure I would ever bring up on this channel, because you guys know I'm all about the positive vibes. I always try to keep things light and stuff like that, but this is something that really affected me and made me more cautious about how I move as a person doing van life. And so I guess it wouldn't be right to just try to give you guys all the positive stuff all the time and never give you any of the bad stuff that happens, because there are bad things that do happen. Traveling, obviously, on your own with the cat, stuff's gonna happen. But yeah, I do want to share one experience that I had that really changed how I move around other people. So I'm gonna take advantage of this cold weather and this foggy atmosphere and make some cocoa, and then it's story time. So yeah. Before I get to that though, my name's Mateo. I travel full-time in my 1999 Chevy Astro with my cat Lars, who is playing over there, rolling around in dirt. And this is Winter is Blue. All right, so I think I should just jump into the story. So basically I was camping in NorCal. I won't say exactly where, but I was camping in NorCal for like a couple weeks. I was at a pier, and on this pier, they allowed overnight camping, so you would find like nomads there all day, all throughout the night. They'd be parking on the right side of the pier, and it was like honestly like a little small community. Like there was one guy who would come by and bring me like blackberries that he would pick, and there was one girl who traveled with her entire family and played music, and that's how she got gas and stuff like that. So like I met a lot of cool people there, and you guys saw me shoot a lot of videos there as well. Then one day this completely new person comes, and I know that they're new because their van has a very unique build to it that I had never seen before. So this new person comes in, they drive down the pier, and where everyone parks to the right, this person parks to the left, which I thought was a little weird, but I thought, I don't know, maybe they're just like being the main character or something, trying to like make sure that their van gets like the most views because it's so apart from everyone else. So I didn't really think much of it and brushed it off. Take Lars on a quick walk on the beach, and when I get done, I see the guy. He's outside of his van and he's cooking food. And you guys know me, I try to be nice and inviting to people that I meet. So I reached into my little bag and pulled out some spoons. If you guys don't know what I mean by that, I consider myself an ambivert, but I try to pull out that little extrovertness sometimes to just make friends and stuff like that. So I pulled some of that out, walked up to the guy and introduced myself. He told me his name. I'm not going to use his name, but we'll just call him Frankie. And he says, "What's up?" He tells me this long story about where he came from, what he was doing before van life, and he took me around his entire van, showed me an entire tour. His van was very uniquely built. Everything was handmade. He said he was a craftsman. Yeah, just told me stories for so long. I was literally at a point, I was on the ground, crisscross applesauce, just like listening to this guy talk. And yeah, after that was done, I went back to my van and I proceeded to get ready for the night. I was cooking and doing stuff like that. And then a person that I'd known for a while who had been in that area walks up to my van and he's like, "Hey, I need to talk to you." So I'm like, okay. And he pretty much tells me, he was like, "You should be careful with who you talk to because I know that guy." And then he tells me this long story about how when he was working at like a homeless shelter, apparently he knew that guy, and that guy was a convicted SO. And I instantly kind of believed him because he started saying like names of places that the guy had just told me he was from and stuff like that. So that was instantly like super creepy, and more than creeped out, I just felt really stupid in the moment because I was literally just on the ground crisscross applesauce talking to this guy, and this whole time he's like saying little bits and pieces about where he's been, what he's done, and then he like jumps to something else, I guess because he's skipping over vital information. So I just felt really stupid that I was just like this close, literally in this guy's van, not knowing who I was talking to. So the guy, we'll call him John. John's telling me about Frankie's past and like how he knows him and what he's done, and it's just really like bone-chilling stuff. And he tells me to be careful and not to get too close to that guy. So obviously I'm instantly like, yeah, of course. So I go about my night everything's still kind of weird, but I go to sleep. And the next morning I wake up and John comes back over and asks me if I heard what happened last night. To which I said no, because I sleep like a log. I didn't hear anything. And he told me that around like 5 a.m. he was walking around and walked past Frankie's van, and there was trash everywhere. And John, what he likes to do, he likes to get up really early and he goes around, he cleans up all the trash that he finds. He calls it his like act of service for like being able to stay there. So he tries to keep the beach clean. But apparently there was a lot of trash by this guy's van and they started a huge argument. And he pretty much was like, I remember you. I know who you are. So like, I'm not even sure if you're supposed to be here. It's probably a violation for you to even be at this public area. So if you don't get straight, I'm gonna pretty much call the cops. And I'm like, whoa, yeah, I did not hear that. And apparently, after that was over, he went and like talked to some of the other people and told them about Frankie as well. I was asleep, so I slept through that entire thing. But he just tells me like, this guy is really creating a problem here. And then he goes about his day. And at that point, I'm like, yeah, I should probably leave this area. This is too much drama for me. I'm not about that kind of life. But here's where it gets really creepy. So I'm in my van. I have all of my window covers up except for this window right here, which opens out this way. And my curtains in the back were also open. I have really dark tint in my van, so it's extremely hard to see in there. If you're just walking by, you're not gonna be able to see me whether I have my covers up or not. They're just that dark. But I'm in my van and I think I'm editing a video or something like that. And everything's quiet and peaceful. And all of a sudden I just hear a loud bang on my window. And I instantly freeze. And then I hear a deep, gruff voice say, "Freeze, police." So at this moment, I'm like freaking out. I'm like, why would the police be at my window? And why are they being so aggressive? The window covers are up, so like the person's on the other side of my van. I can't actually see who it is. But as they walk around my van, I see that it's Frankie. And he stops in the back of my van to where my curtains are open. And again, I have really dark tint, but if you get really close, you can see through. And he cups his hands and peers through my window. And if you're like me, a person who does van life, you know this is my house. So that was the equivalent of somebody just like walking up to your window in your house and just looking in there. That's extreme violation of privacy. Like, I could have been doing anything. But he walks up and now he's laughing because apparently this was some big joke. He's just trying to freak me out. But of course, I know who this guy is now, and I'm like, this is freaky. This is really creepy. And so he walks to where I have one window open. I was just gonna freeze and act like I wasn't in the van because he couldn't see me from the back. But this window's open. And when he walks around the van, he peers into my open window and sees me. And he's like, "Oh, there you go, man. Hey, dude, I just wanted to hang out with you. I just wanted to talk and chop it up for a little bit. I just wanted to know if you wanted to hang out with me." And I'm like, I'm really caught off guard. From the whole cop thing to just switching to this, I didn't have time to really react. And I was just really trying to get out of that area at this point. So I'm like, no, man, I got some YouTube videos to edit. And he asks, "Well, how long do you need? because I can come back. I just want to hang out with you for a little while, you know, talk some more. And I'm like, I'm gonna be going to Starbucks to edit, so I think I'll be there for a few hours. And after that, he's still outside of my open window. But then he shifts the conversation and he asks me if I heard what happened earlier this morning. And I go, no. And he pretty much tells this like played down version of what happened. Apparently the other guy was just angry about something and he came up to him and called him a slob and then got into an argument. And what I think he was doing at this point was, because remember I told you that John went and told some other people who were up about who this guy was. And I think he was coming up to me to pretty much gauge where I was and see if I was still on his side and if I had heard about what John had to say about him. So I think that's what he was doing there. But yeah, after I told him I was going to Starbucks, he was pretty much like, all right, I'll catch you later on. And I get in the car. I wasn't planning on going anywhere that day, but I hop in the car and I like head to Starbucks and I stay there until it gets dark. And then I head back to the spot because during this time, I was actually really low on gas. So I couldn't go too far. So I ended up going back there. And I told myself I was gonna leave like right when I got the money to like fill up my gas tank. I was heading out. So I thought I thought the worst was over, but this situation still had yet to come to a head. The next day was crazy. So I'm in my van. At this point, I'm not even like really hopping out to like talk to people. I'm chilling to myself, waiting for me to get paid and get out of there. But the next day I'm in my van and things are chill, things are normal. The guy's gone, Frankie's gone. So I think John talks to me earlier. He thinks him bringing up the cops made the guy leave. So he's gone. The day's going on and he's still gone. So I'm like, okay, maybe he's just gone. Maybe he went to the next town or whatever. Then around like 3 p.m., he pulls in and goes back to his spot. And when he does that, John comes back to my car and tells me this part. He pretty much, he's like, yeah, this guy's a total creep. And he brings up the fact that he parks on the left side of the pier. He's like, haven't you ever noticed that he's the only one that parks on the left side? And I was like, yeah, I did notice that, but I didn't really understand why. And he was like, if you pay close attention to him, you'll see that he parks on the left side, pulls out a one-eye telescope, and stares at the people on the beach. Apparently the like younger people on the beach. So when he told me that really made it just gross, because he does park on the left side and I have seen him with a telescope. I just thought he was looking at the ocean or something like that. But that was the worst part of it. Just knowing that like it's happening right there. So John at this point is like really mad and he's like, I'm really gonna call the cops because I don't even think he's supposed to be here, and I bet one call to the cops he'd be out. So John goes back off, and almost like instantly there's like a group of like moms with their kids, and they are walking down the pier, and they walk past my van and they walk out of my view. At the end of the pier is where Frankie parks. So they walk past me and they're heading to where his van is. And I get like this sick feeling of just like thinking of what might happen. And then right behind him is John, like beelining straight towards Frankie's van. I think that he saw that too, and he was like, enough's enough. And so he walks there, and he's like, it's honestly like a huge scene. Like, they're both yelling. He's telling all the people around him, pointing at the guy, telling him what he, like, who he is and all this stuff. And the people that were walking down there just like turned around and they like hoofed it. They were off the pier. And now it's just these two. They're in each other's face, and they're just like yelling at each other, insults. I'm gonna bear spray you if I see you around here again, like this, that, and the other. And they're just like full voice yelling. And I'm in my van. I hop out and like see what's going on, just to make sure, like, you know, I don't really know. But yeah, they're just yelling, and he's like, if I see you here again, I'm calling the cops. And then he just walks away, and Frankie is yelling at him, just calling him like words and slurs, telling him to come back. He'll bear spray him in the face, things like that. And at some point, they both just go back in their vans, and it's dead quiet again. Luckily, the next day, we didn't see Frankie. And then after that, I was done with the whole area. I got my gas money and filled up my tank, and I headed out. So I haven't been back there, and I don't really think I'm planning to go back to that specific area, just because I just have a gross kind of vibe about it now, which sucks. I really did enjoy it. But yeah, that whole situation just made me think twice about, you know, really opening myself up to new people, how I had been. Because before, I see you have a van, I have a van, let's be best friends. That was the vibe. But that really taught me to be more selective and more careful and cautious about who I open up to and invite in, or let myself be invited in by. So if nothing else, hopefully you guys can take from that and just be more cautious about who you're hanging around, because you never know who that person really is. Yeah. That was my creepiest van life experience. It is now dark. Hopefully you guys can still see me. I do have my light on. But yeah, if you guys stayed for the whole thing, I really appreciate it. I know this is a different kind of tone than I usually take on my channel. Everything's usually light and fun, but I just been reflecting on that story. I wasn't even planning on filming today, but I was just reflecting on that today with this whole park to myself. And again, I just felt like I give you guys positive all the time, and sometimes if a negative thing happens, I'll just keep that to myself and wait for something positive to give to you guys. But this is a community, and I feel like you guys look to me to show you the truth of stuff and like what really happens. So yeah, hopefully you guys took something from that, and if nothing else, hopefully it was a well-told story and I didn't bore you guys to death. But yeah, that was the story of my creepiest van life experience. My hot cocoa has gone cold, and there's cat hair in it somehow. But yeah, I'm gonna enjoy the rest of my night, and hopefully you guys stay safe out there. And I'll catch you in the next one, astronauts. Peace.